Welcome my friends. So, you know what this is, right? This is the Aputure MC RGB light. And I'm sure you've heard about this online, but have you heard about the other RGB lights that you can get online? RGB, sounded like Irish. Let's find which one is the best bang for the buck. This Aputure MC or one of these. Let's find out. So I have spent way too long preparing for this video and testing all these things, but please do let me know in the comment section below if you want me to continue with the list or the specs of this, because I know there's loads more on the market and I have only 11 of these here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, this is the Aputure MC. Next off, we have two lights from Pfy. So these two over here are Pfy Matrix. And this one over here is Pfy Matrix Mini. Very interesting lights, these. Then we have two from Pixel. This is Pixel G1. And this one over here is like the upgraded version of this, Pixel G1S. Then we have two lights from WeLight, or Viltrox, I think they're trading with that name as well. So there's WeLight RB08P LED light over here, this one. And I've made another video about this earlier before. And then there's another RB9 RGB LED light from WeLight. This one is the Boiling P1 Vlogger light. Then we have Laofus. This is like, the name for this LED is Rainbow Sophomore. Then this one is by Goldbox, and this is the only one that has a round design or circle design. And this in the back is a magnet, by the way, as well, which is pretty cool. So you can attach other lights to it that have magnets as well. And then last of all, we have Pocket Light F7 Mini by Falcon Eyes. I'm gonna leave all of these in the description below as well, but let's have a look at some of the specs now. Moving on to the computer over here. So as you can see, there is a whole lot of specs that you can see on the screen over here. I'm just gonna tell you what they mean. So I'm gonna leave this Google Sheet for you so you can check it out in the description below if you want to as well, and have a look around and find all the links of all of these lights. First of all the brightness tests that I have done, they're measured exactly in 1 meter distance. So not like 0.3 meters, but 1 meter distance. So you can kind of get the idea compared to some other lights on the market. Let's have a look at the best bang for buck. How are we measuring this? So basically there's different categories, and then we're going to measure each light and then order them, which one is the best and which one is the worst, and then give the points accordingly, whoever is first, whoever is last. So first of all, we're going to be looking at the color temperature range, which the light, if it has more color temperature range, it's more versatile, it's a better light. There's only a few options, so the many options or the many places kind of they all lay out, the many points they're getting. So because there's only 4 different points here, 24,000 Kelvin difference, 3,300 Kelvin difference, and 6,000 Kelvin difference, and 6,500 Kelvin difference, then they're getting points accordingly. Next up, we're going to be looking at the tungsten brightness measurements over here at 3,200 kelvins, which is the brightest light. Now the only interesting thing I want to mention about this section over here is that the Pfy Matrix, so this light is actually brighter when using tungsten bulbs instead of the daylight bulb. So when measuring this at 5,600 kelvins, it's actually less bright, or less brighter, dimmer. It is dimmer at 5,600 kelvins than on 3,200 kelvins, which is very interesting. Next off, we're going to be looking at the 5,600 kelvins, so daylight setting now, brightness. And as you can see, all of these are measured at 1 meter and in lux. Pixel G1 is the first place at this brightness point at 362 kelvins, and then Aputure MC is at the bottom. As much as this Aputure is really cool light, it isn't actually the brightest by far. There are lights that are almost triple or 3.5 times brighter, like this G1S next to it over here is 3.5 times brighter. Another thing I want to mention on this brightness section on 5,600 kelvins is that this Pfy Matrix light is measured not with the boost setting on, because whatever brightness you have, you can hold on the mode button and it's going to give you extra brightness for like limited amount of time. So on these 5600 kelvins and 3200 kelvins, I'm not going to use this on this light because, you know, we want the light to be constant at constant brightness. At max brightness now, this is where we are actually considering that as well, which roughly takes, you know, 200 lux off, or plus 200 lux brightness, which is quite a lot. So that's quite interesting. So now this Pfy Matrix is absolutely the brightest in the bunch. Again, Aputure MC in the bottom. Aputure is the dimmest light in this bunch over here. Whatever scenario, it is the dimmest. And even at RGB, so if we go back to the different tests and, you know, you want to know which RGB is the brightest, or if you really need very bright green, blue or red lights to color some backgrounds, to put some color effects in there, then the measurements are here and you can see that. The interesting thing is, like, Aputure is probably almost the dimmest in all of the settings. Next off, lighting effects. How many lighting effects are built into the light? So if you're shooting some kind of, I don't know, police chase scene, or flickering light bulb, TV, disco, fireworks, all that sort of jazz, you can see them inside. Pfy Matrix and Pfy Mini, they have like a setting inside where you can set your own timings and your own color temperature, and you can do all of sorts of that as well. There's some obviously lighting effects built in, but you can all modify that. So these two are going to be on the top because the options there are limitless. Next off comes this Laufus light over here, which looks very simple, but actually in a lot of the testing it is very, very powerful. Next off, we're going to be looking at the app. If the light has an app, it gets 1 point. It doesn't get, like, you know, loads of points. And if it has any magnets, it also gets another extra point. Now, probably the most important section in this over here, which the Aputure MC is the very best, battery runtime. Now, the battery runtime is 2 hours and 22 minutes and 42 seconds on the Aputure MC, which is by far the best one in the bunch, like 17 minutes more than the second place. But we've got to mention that this Aputure MC is a lot less brighter than the boiling P1. So if you match the brightness level on the P1, the P1 is going to outperform the Aputure MC. Aputure is the best, and Wii Light over here is the worst. Some of the lights can go a little bit longer, but I stop the timer when the light is actually starting to dim down, flicker, or goes off and maybe goes on again later. For example, this Pixel G1, which is like the brightest light, almost the brightest light in the bunch. This was very weird because it turns off at some point, and then after like 30 minutes or a minute, it turns back on and keeps going a little bit, turns back off. I just stopped the timer whenever this was at the first switch of time. And then obviously the price. Over here, the price is measured at pounds, and whichever one is the most expensive gets the less points, and then the one that has the smallest price gets the most points. So Aputure MC is the most expensive of the bunch as well, and actually very underwhelming in a lot of the tests and a lot of the specs, brightness, everything. Then I wanted to give some extra points in this scale of things as well, to see if any light has something extra that you need to consider, then it gets 1 point extra. The Falconize F7 Mini over here comes with diffusion and honeycomb filter or light, that fixture that goes on the light over here, which is a nice feature to have extra, so I'm quite happy about that. So it gets extra point. Next off, this Wii Light RGB 9 or RB9 over here gets an extra point because the RGB is the most brightest, or very impressively bright in this light. So if you need the most RGB, then this Wii Light RB9 is the best in the bunch. This Goldbox R1 is quite interesting as well because it's got like these diffusers and things that you can use in the top over there to have the light, but it's also round, so it might be a little bit, you know, interesting, but it doesn't get any extra points from me. Boiling P1, this light over here, which is in the top in a lot of the brightness tests and battery tests, get an extra point because of the mounting options. Often the other lights only have either 1/4 inch screw to mount the light, but this one has a very complicated mechanism. You can twist and bend it and put it all sorts of ways, and has a lot of 1/4 inch screws, so the mounting options in this one are miles better than any of the other lights, so that one gets extra point. The Aputure MC gets an extra point for the color accuracy and the wireless charging, and then how the lights work together. Now the color accuracy isn't like much better than any of the other lights, but I think it's still worth mentioning because this is completely in another league of lights that they are producing. So this Aputure is like the best quality, also the smallest light. So there are some things that this Aputure has in common, but one of the things that I really don't like about this Aputure light is the menu. So the menu, when moving the wheel, you have to move it like 2 stops before it moves to the next one. It's very, very weird and confusing when you're doing that, so I don't like the menu. The menu is very annoying. Pfy Matrix Mini and Matrix, both of them get another point. I'd like to get another point for this smaller Pfy Matrix because it is smaller than Aputure MC. It is brighter, it is better than Aputure MC at all sorts of points, comes at less than half of the price. It can be used with a phone, an app and everything, but they also have a very interesting feature where either of these lights can be like a master or a slave setting, by the way. So basically if you adjust one of the lights, it can adjust the other one, or if you adjust this light, it adjusts the other one. So if you have like a setting going on and you want to change it a little bit, you just go to the first light, change one of them, and then it can change all of them. It doesn't matter which light you're going to go to. And it can also be changed, you know, you can change it whether you want to receive communication or whether you want to send the communication. It can all be changed on the light as well. So a nice little feature, gets extra point. An extra point also comes for this Pixel G1, which actually has a 4040 milliampere battery inside, and it can also be used as a power bank if you want to charge your phone. So this USB-C over here can be used as in-port or out-port, which is very interesting. And now putting all those statistics and numbers back together and then seeing how many points each light gets, and then we're going to figure out which one is the best bang for the buck. Now, interestingly, this Wii light RB9, which is the largest light over here, gets the best bang for buck points. I'm quite happy about that. The only downside with this one is like I don't like the plus and minus button when adjusting the brightness of the light. I much more prefer a wheel that a lot of these other lights have, like this one and even Aputure lights, even though it doesn't work as good. But the wheel is much like nicer way of adjusting this light. Other than that, it is a very solid light and wins the best bang for buck light over here. So if you're wondering which one is the best bang for buck, it is this one. I have used them all for quite a bit now, and I seem to have some of my favorites. For example, I seem to use a lot of this Matrix mini light just because it's got magnets, it's small, I can stick it everywhere, and it's quite bright as well, so that is definitely one of my favorites. Another favorite is this Goldbox R1 with this like a cube on, or like a dome on the top. So if I light the background usually over there, I usually use this light because by just putting the dome in the back there, it adds quite a bit of light, as you can see. It just spreads it nicely around, which is very nice. The one thing I do want to mention that even though getting quite a good specs on the paper with this Pixel G1S, I would not recommend this light for anybody. Stay away from this light because this light, a lot of the different settings, it makes a noise, like very high pitch, like noise when the light is dimmed to certain percentage or in certain like settings. So I think this manufacturer needs to do a refresh on this and fix this setting. I'm not sure if this is just on mine, but be aware of this. If you want to buy this, make sure you buy it off Amazon. So if it does that, you can return it very easily. And Aputure MC is on the bottom over there. Look, this light gets the least amount of points, and it's quite interesting to see that, you know, for less than half of the price, you can get something that has very similar features and can just, you know, outperform it in a lot of the ways. The Aputure MC definitely isn't the best bang for buck in the section. The other ones are much more. To conclude this long video, here's my test results. Feel free to check them out. I'm gonna leave the Google Sheets page in there if you want to view it. If you want to check out any of these lights, I'm gonna leave links for all of these in the description below. If you want any other lights to be checked out, leave a comment below. Or if you're a manufacturer of one of these lights or extra lights, feel free to send me an email so we can check this out and add them to the list. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. This has been Tech Notice with the best bang for buck RGB pocket light that has taken way too long to measure and spend time on. So all of the 3 people who like this, there you go. You're welcome. This is for you. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.